Hello, everyone. Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all you wonderful students who are present over here on today's session on our Montessori math. I hope this message finds you in good health and in high spirits. We are towards Christmas celebration, and I'm very delighted to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you and wishing you all in advance Merry Christmas. So we have been learning and we have been following the methodology of Dr. Maria Montessori's Montessori education. We believe in fostering, helping the students towards developing a learning environment, right? So the environment needs to be much engaging and at the same time it has to be interacting. Whether you are a returning student, you are a teacher, you are a parent, or you are a facilitator who is working with young children or say 2 to 6 years of age, all these lessons are going to be very, very helpful for you because it is going to help you to work with your children, right? So if you are joining for a math session for a very first time, like we have some of the newcomers also, like Shweta and Lakshmi. So you are into the math sessions for the very first time. So I would welcome you all to this learning community. Okay. So what we're going to be learning today, or what we learned in our yesterday's class, was related to our number rods. This was the first Montessori material that we used in our classes to educate our children numbers from 1 to 10, right? So we wanted to give them a visual identification of numbers from 1 to 10. We wanted to work on the quantities. So we used the first material, that was our number rods. Going forward, to give our children a sensory experience is where we used our sandpaper letters. We understood that the numbers were from 0 to 9. Can you see the tiny line which is marked? Can you see there was a line which is marked below every number? This is one thing that you can always observe. We definitely have that line if it's an authentic Montessori material. Why is that? Because children might not know positioning the numbers, especially for number 6 and number 9, we always have difficulty. So that's the reason you always have a marking. So you understand about your placements and positions. The third material that we used was our number rods and cards, very much similar to our first one, but this also came up with the cards from 1 to 10. This was the first material that we did. Now, what was the assignment which was given to all of us was we had to make up a table, right? So are you all completed with your work? So have you completed what makes a 10, what makes 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2? Did we all do that? If no, then today, as soon as we finish the class, we're going to be working on that. Okay, so see, if you don't write it, we might miss out on performing that exercise on number rods and cards. So we have multiple stages. The first stage was positioning by random numbers, and we did it. Second presentation was a glimpse of addition we saw. The third one was related to our subtraction. So this was the three materials that we saw yesterday. Today, we're going to be working on another material, which is called spindle box. Okay, so please note down, we're going to be working on a material called spindle box. Now, what do you get an understanding from this material as soon as you see that? Okay.
Zero, introduction of zero.
Introduction of zero. Okay, so I have to really appreciate the kid who started the conversation. Okay, so yes, we could see the number zero. And what was the other thing that you noticed visually? That there are no spindles in that compartment wherein we have a space provided for zero. So that means visually it is indicating and helping the child understand zero means nothing. So we can't put anything into it, right? So this is one of the concept that we need to be working towards our material, that is spindle box. So how is the material? Now, can you describe a little bit more on the material itself? Now, do we see two boxes here? I see two boxes. The first box is from 0 to 4. The second box is from 5 to 9. So I have two boxes. Now these two boxes are exactly of the same size. Even the compartment sizes are all the same. Now what else I would be able to see here is, I would see the numbers. The numbers are being printed very bold on it. So we see the symbols from 0 to 9. Starting from 0 and it is progressing to 9. So my first box will have 0 to 4. The second box will have 5 to 9. This is the first thing that you will tell to children, that it is made up of two compartments, sorry, two boxes. Each box will have 5 compartments. And you should also teach the child about identifying the numbers that has been there. Spindles will not be put into it. Okay, it will be kept in a separate tray. I'll show you that also. Now, what is the prerequisite for this particular material is, how many number of spindles should I have it? Spindle is nothing but those tiny long ones that you have, no? That is called a spindle. We are going to be putting that quantity into it. Okay. So what is a prerequisite over here is like, the teacher should have counted 45 spindles. How is it 45? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 is equivalent to 45. So you should exactly have 45 spindles. Not more than that, not less than that. This is the prerequisite. Why is that? We're going to see that in the error of control. Clear? So this is going to be the first one that we're going to be working. So please note down, the first material for today is going to be our spindle box. Write down the materials required. We definitely need to have 2 boxes. Each being divided into how many compartments? 5 compartments. Okay. So that's our material. So yeah, now you should be able to get the easy understanding. So it's very important for me whenever I want to introduce the concept of zero. Some of the times, if you don't have, if you're using a very old material, we might also have it in one compartment. These days we get materials in 2 compartments. Okay, so it's easy for a child also to carry. This is little heavier for a child. This is also fine. Now, what are those spindles? Spindles are nothing but those loose quantities. Okay, so that is our spindles. Now, what is the first thing that we do is, we either take a tray or we take a small bowl and we keep all our spindles into it. Now is where the child is going to look at the number, pick up the exact number, and then the child is going to be putting it. The next version is the teacher, once the child masters the counting, you need not go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 every time. Now, if I go to the next number 4, I have to take 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what I can do is, I can use ribbons or I can use rubber bands and I can tie the 4 quantity. When the teacher says 4, you will pick up that 4 and you will place it into that compartment. For that, as an extension material, we are also going to be using a container with 8 ribbons or 9 ribbons. Okay, why 8 ribbons? Because one does not need a ribbon. So you will need to have only 8 ribbons for the next set of things. So you will continue putting until 9. Why do we do this exercise? Can you tell me now? To make sure.
Zero means nothing. There is
Zero means nothing. They have to know about reinforcing of counting, reinforcing of symbols, making sure that the child gets the idea of separating the quantity to a number also, right? So they also understand the concept of zero. So this becomes my purpose. Now, where can the child go wrong here? Now, can you tell me where can the child go wrong in this material?
if we put extra spindles or less spindles, the child might have extra spindles at the end of the exercise. Otherwise, that child maybe, if he lost, maybe if he have very less spindles, means he might have put one extra spindles in another boxes.
Another compartments or the other boxes, right? So you can't say boxes. You have to be specific, Shweta. You have to tell in the other compartment the child would have put. So either they can be excess or they can be less. So if it is excess, he has missed putting it somewhere. If it is less, he has put more in some of the compartments, right? So that could be my error of control that I'm going to be working. Okay. So let me quickly share a video about how do we do spindle boxes. Okay. So let's take a look through. That was a good thing. Okay. So we could always work on it. So how many spindles we have?
45, ma'am.
45.
45 spindles. Why is it 45?
N in 10 plus 1 by 2, ma'am.
Yes. Here we go. Can you see the system? Yes. So we always can use this a little earlier. So we're going to be skipping 0 here. We're going to be seeing the number and then equal quantity is what we put. Now what we need to be focusing over here is, even though you know 3 is in one place, you can't put 3 together. You have to go one by one only. Why? Because when the teacher picks up multiple quantity in hand, the child might also pick up. The teacher has the counting ability, but the child might not have. So that's the reason you always go one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, every time that you would be putting these materials. So this is going to help you to work. Now you can start asking more questions. Now what could be your questions like? Now show a number. Ask them how many spindles are there? How many spindles did we keep in the basket altogether? How many are there in your hand? How many is there in the table? More you ask them, you're like kind of reinforcing the quantity. Now, what do I do here next time is like I can also take up rubber bands and then I can actually reinforce the same quantity that this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So then is what we do a cleanup. So during cleanup, the child should be able to remove all the rubber bands, and at the same time, we should also be able to keep back all of it. So you can invite children from different ages to perform this activity, and they should be all good to go on this. Okay, so that's our first material, and it is called our spindle box.
Ma'am, we have to fill that spindle from 1 to 9 or 9 to 1?
1 to 9, sequential.
Okay.
Always sequential. Okay, so we don't do random here. It is sequential. This is for a reinforcement and introducing the quantity at the same time. Okay.
Ma'am, how can they recognize these are 3, these are 4, these are 5? Otherwise, we are going to tell and first then give it to them, ma'am.
How, like, can you tell me? Can you come again?
How can they recognize these are 3, these are 4, these are 5?
See, what I will do initially is, now say for example, if this is my spindle, right?
Okay.
So what I do first is like I go on counting. When I go on counting, I say 1, 2, 3. Then again on the counting, I go like 1, 2, 3, 4. Recognition is this. Then I might tie up this 3 here.
Okay.
Then I would put it into this. Then I can ask the child, can you give me 4? This is already there. They look at the compartment here, 4. They take this and they give it to me. Can you give me 5? Pick up that bundle 5 and they can give me 5 from the same compartment.
Okay.
Again, if I remove the rubber band, the child can individually count back again. This is 5. Yes, reinforcement.
Oh.
Why we do that is because again they have to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is like second skill. After they have mastered numbers completely from 1 to 10, then only you will be able to work with this. Okay. So what else? Has anybody's got any other questions on the same material? Now, error of control we understood also. So it can't be more, it can't be less. Correct? So let's move on to the next one. So we learned so far numbers from 1 to 9. And after 1 to 9, we also introduce number 0. To introduce 0, we use our material called spindle box. The next number that we're going to be introducing is number 10. At the same time, before introducing number 10, we can also work on identifying whether numbers are even or odd. Now I have say numbers from 1 to 9. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then I would also take 10. Now I have to find out whether 2 is even or is it odd number. Is it an even number or is it an odd number? We all know 2 is an even number. How will the child learn this conceptual? In Montessori, we use a material called cards and counters. Okay, so we use a material called cards and counters. This is one of the simple exercise that we are going to be working in our classes. Okay, so the next material apart from all of that, what we have is our cards and counters. Now, if you see here, the name itself specifies we have cards. How many cards we have? Cards from 1 to 10. 1 to 10. So that means I am only working with my children to reinforce the concept of odd and even only for these 10 numbers from 1 to 10. When I said counters, can you see the red beads, red circles over there? So those are my counters. Now, what is required for me to work over here is like, I take up a card, I start giving the equivalent quantity to it. Now, say, suppose if I pick up my first number, number 1, how many counters should I take it? One counter. If I take number 2, how many counters I have to take? 2 counters. If I have to take number 3, I have to take 3 counters. Now, see the arrangement of my counters here. Can you see that the arrangement? See for 3. So I go dot, dot, and then I go down.
Yes, sir.
So when you see the below dot, next to it, it doesn't have. So Nali, mute dear. I can hear a background meeting. Yeah. So we have dot, dot, and underneath again, we have another dot. So that means the down dot does not have a partner. It does not have a counter, right? So that means number 3 becomes my odd number. Now take a look at number 4. I have a counter, counter. Below that, I have a counter and a counter. The first row has equal partners. Second row also has equal partners. So it becomes my even number. See for 5, the last dot does not have a counter next to it. So that becomes my odd. So you would teach your children in that way. Or the other way that you're going to be working with children is, say for example, if I have taken number 5. Okay, so I start taking my counters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can draw a line with my finger. This and this has counter, this and this has counter, but for this, it does not have any counter. So this becomes my odd number. For number 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This has a counter, this has a counter, this also has a counter. So this is a even number. So that means there is a good equal pairing that has actually happened. So this is how you would introduce to children. So this is one way of introducing. The second way of your arrangement for odd numbers is, the first way, how did we arrange this? It was like this, correct? The second way that we would arrange for the number 5 is, I would go center here. Now when I draw a line, I might be able to touch this counter. Then again, this becomes my odd number. So my arrangement can either be this way or this way to introduce odd numbers. So teacher can stick to any of the format. Okay, so you can stick to any of the format to actually work on this particular conceptions. Now, how many counters you should have as a prerequisite?
55.
55. How is it 55?
45
Numbers.
spindle, we are going to add 10 more, 55.
Yes. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10. So we should have 55 counters. We should not keep more, neither less. Right? So that becomes my exercise. How do we present it to children? Is going to be the next important thing. So as a preliminary exercise, we have to spread out our mat. We have to bring our material. Once the material is bought into that particular place is where I would settle my material onto it. Now I would begin with my exercise. The child already knows the number identification. So you can use the number cutouts or you can use the cards. Okay. Now what do I reinforce over here is on the quantity part of it. If it's 1, I have 1 counter. If it's 2, I have 2. For 3, it is this. So this is the second arrangement that I was talking about. So you can either go down or you can either go to the left hand side itself for the arrangement. Now, once we complete this entire process from 1 to 10, now you should be able to tell me if I give any number in random to find out whether this number is even or odd. The child did all the arrangement. Now you will ask them, tell me about number 8. Is it even or odd? The child will find out and they say, ma'am, it's an even number. What about 10? Even number. What about 9? It's an odd number. So you can reinforce that quantity and then always cleaning up. So pick up all the materials, put them back. So this is going to be your cards and counters, the second material that you would introduce in your classes. So this covers your first part. This covers your first part. The first part of your Montessori exercises was all about numbers from 1 to 10. So we have covered how many? Number rods, sandpaper numbers, number rods and cards, then spindle box. Then we have something called as cards and counters. The next one is like when you grow a little bigger in number, we need to go for our decimal system, right? So the next thing that we're going to be introducing in our classes is decimal system. Okay, so take a look at the next material that we have. This material is called as golden beads. Okay, so take good time to look at the material. It's such a beautiful one. But in case if you get the opportunity to hold them in your hands, it's very nice. Children would always love to hold those tiniest beads in their hands and they would not be giving us back. So Shobha would have experienced this because she works with children a lot on the math classes and she knows how children are addicted to these materials. Shobha, would you like to share something on this?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Shobha. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, children were that beads and all touching. No, that's very happy, ma'am. What that one beat is there, no? One that one will
Unit.
take. Yeah. That one will touching means want to taking care also. Someone will take and will put it in mouth. That one will very scare about that sometime. Then
Yes. See, whenever you work with golden beads material, so this is one of our preliminary, or I could say the crowned material in Montessori to introduce the decimal system. As teachers, as Shobha said, you need to be very cautious whenever you are introducing units to children because they are tiniest beads that we hand it over. But if a child has been introduced to this lesson, they never put those beads into their mouth. They know how to carefully manage and handle this material itself. Now, what are we going to work over here is like you get this material being positioned in this tray. Now, if you see the tray very closely, you would have a small chunk piece of a wooden material wherein you'll have a punched in hole to keep that small bead. So every time you put that small bead over there, it doesn't move out. It doesn't roll off. So the unit is there in that position. So it's very important for you to keep up that small piece of wood also very carefully. The next one that you see, it's like a line. So that means it's a string wherein 10 beads have been put together and they're tied. So that means that is representing my tens, which is made up of my 10 ones. So I am also introducing to a concept saying to the child that 10 ones make 1 10. Look at the next one. I have something like a square there. So that means 10 tens have been tied together to make 100. So I have a 100 square. Now 10 such 100 squares have been stacked one on top of the other to make a cube. And that is representing my 1000. Okay, so what does this Montessori golden bead tray, the very primary or a very prestigious material to introduce decimal system in our Montessori is golden beads. This comes with a tray wherein you have a tray containing a golden bead unit, a golden 10 bar, a golden 100 square, and a golden 1000 square. Everything will be 1, 1, 1 only. So we are not using multiple here. It should have only one. Later, when we are performing our operations, we take the full material, which will have more in quantity. But for this introduction, we take only this. Now, how do you present this material to your child? You will invite a child and you will ask him, you will tell them, I'm going to do a Montessori math lesson. So you will introduce him to the shelf where the material has been kept up. So you ask the child to bring a mat. You will ask him to unroll and put that mat so that, he's all set to perform his work. Then you bring this tray and then you give him the tiniest bead and you ask him to feel it. And when the child is feeling, you say, this is unit. And you reinforce multiple times saying, this is unit. Unit. Unit means single bead is called a unit. So give it to the child, let him feel. You take it back. Again, you feel and you say, look at the bead. Okay, ask them to just look at the bead and ask them to say unit, unit, multiple number of times. Then keep it carefully. Then take the 10 bar and start counting from it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The child should understand 10 such small units are making up 1 10 bar. You just have to do a counting. We're not giving any definition. Okay, you will repeat the same thing to tens bar also, like 1 10, 2 10, 3 10, 4 10, 5 10, 6 10, 7 10, 8 10, 9 10, and 10 10. So for hundreds, again, we do the same. Now, what is expected from this particular exercise is, as this is one of my preliminary material that I generally have it in my classes, I want the children to understand the concept of decimal system. They should be able to visually see how the number is so big, how 1000 is so big. And the child should also understand 1000 means 1000 beads are there. 100 means there are 100 beads. Okay, and they should understand, and they should also know the place value. Can you see here the numbers are growing, right? The place values is also being there, so the child understands the category where I have to put my unit, where I have to put my 10, where my 100, where my 1000. Are we all clear on this particular aspect? So this is what you're teaching the child, the place value also. What is the place that it actually takes? Now, individually, you remove all this and you help the child to work on it. Now, what if I want to give them more? For example, if I ask the child, can you give me 1000? The child should give me 1000. Can you give me 100? The child gives me 100. Can you give me 3 tens? 1 10, 2 10, 3 10. One more 10. 4 tens. Can you give me 6 units? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each time that we are talking in this terms of units or tens or hundreds or thousands, the child will have to be able to position the quantity in the same place value. So that is the reason we introduce a different mat in our Montessori. That's called the felt mat. So when I say felt mat, it will have the number coordinations over there. Can you also see the linings there? So all my units are marked in green color. My tens in blue color, 100 box is in red, and 1000 again is in green color. So positions also the child will know. And from here, when we write problem statements also, you should be able to write it in the same way. Usha, artha ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, looking at your face, I thought you're not understanding. Okay. Okay, so this is how we would be able to work on positioning. Now, this entire lesson is, has the child understood the concept? Whatever number I give him, is he able to place them in that particular place? Is what we would be concentrating in this lesson. Once this is done, now I have to teach him how the numbers are growing. Now, each one of you should be drawing these tables. This exercise demands a table of ones. So you have to make this table and you have to put circles and you have to color it with circles. So I'll give you 2 minutes. Quick. So we start making the table of ones. Now, what did we observe here is like how the number is growing in sequence. Now, when I do this table formation, you gave the child a visual impression like how the numbers are growing. Now, when I give the child units, only the units from the decimal system, and if I ask the child to give me 9 beads, the child should be able to keep 9 beads like this. If I ask the child, place 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the child should be able to give me 6 beads. So they understand about it and they understand the arrangement of the beads also sequentially. So we are going vertical. Okay, we are sticking to that. So once we are done with this, we move to the next one, wherein we are focusing on our tens table, a table of 10. So we would have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. Now, what do I represent? How do I represent tens? By a line. Or I can have this way. Whatever is convenient to you, you can do that. But I would always prefer in my classes to introduce by line. So I can say 110. Instead of 10, 20, 30, you have to go on a writable format. 110, 210, 310, that way. 2 tens, 110, 210, 110, 210, 310, 110, 210, 310, 410. I will tell you why later. Okay? Because for the addition, it becomes easy. Slowly, you can also introduce 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 50 means 50. Okay? Instead of saying 50, 50, you say 5 tens make 50. So that's the relationship that you're going to be giving. For example, 23. How children write? 2, 3, 23. I've seen most of the children write like that. And I've also seen most of the teachers teach like that. It's wrong. So you say 2 tens and 3 ones make 23. 2 tens and 4 ones, 24. 2 tens and 5 ones, 25. Why? Because this is in the tens position and this is in the ones position. Okay. So this is something that you have to correct if you're doing that in your classes. So are we done with our tens table? Next, we move on to our hundreds table. Again, in our hundreds table, we write the same tabulation 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 until 900. Now, what do I do here? How do I represent my hundreds? I represent my hundreds by a square. So 100, 200, 300. I would have my 400s, my 500s, and I would continue till my 900s. So this is my third tabulation of my table of hundreds. Now, how do I relate it to my golden beads lesson? When the teacher comes and asks, can you give me 300s? The child should give how many squares?
3 squares.
3 squares. So what are you teaching here? Quantity. We're still not working on the numbers. You're still taught only till 10. Right? You've still taught them 10. You did not move to 11, 12. You came back to your tens and hundreds. I'll tell you why. Because it's easy for children to learn with the quantities this way. Completed, everyone? Okay. Let's move to the next one. So we're going to be adding our tabulation towards our thousands. So 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 until 9. So how do I represent my thousands? I represent it by a cube. So I have my 1,000, my 2,000s, my 3,000s. And then you will color everything with yellow color because it's a golden bead. Because you're doing the representation, right? On the book, you will draw like this. So what we learned here was, in my Montessori decimal system tray, I have to be introducing the child towards my units, tens, hundreds, and thousands. So that means the child is now aware about where to position and where to keep it. They know the thousands are this side and the ones are this side. So I can't keep like this. The positions and placements are wrong. That is the reason you will always introduce this on a felt mat, wherein you would have color codes or the symbols that is written on it. So you would place them in the same position. Now, every time you place them in the same positions, we teach children also about the place value. Which place does this actually be there? So we are teaching place value indirectly. Are we also teaching the face value to the child? Definitely yes. When I say 3000, what is the face value of it? It's number 3. So 3 is the face value of it. And what about its place? Thousands place. Okay. So this is our tabulation for our ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. This is the first exercise that we do it in our decimal system. From here, we move to our, what I could say is like, on the other part, which goes on, pardon? Which goes on my operations and all of that, right? So, yeah. Okay. Is everybody done? Okay. Now, this we did it with one simple one. Now, what if I am introducing a transition of beads? What do I mean by learning a little bit more about my golden beads? I can further go as an extension to it. Now I'll take up a next material. Now that was a basic material. Now did you get the difference? The first material had only one. Did you all get the difference? The first material, the units was only one. Now you see there are 10 units there. 10 small beads are there. More units are there. Now in the first material, there was only one 10 bar. Now if you see, so many 10s are there. So everything which was 1, now it is made to 10, 10 till hundreds. And then the 1000 is only one cube there. So this is the transition that I'm having because my child now knows. So I'm going to give that transition to a child, and I would also teach them more numbers through this second material. So what I will tell to the child is, now children, we are learning a little bit more. So that means I would need 2 mats now because my quantity is also growing. So I definitely can't do everything with one mat. So I would spread, or I would help the child to spread the mats. And we start taking that counter, we bring there, we observe the units, we observe how many tens are there, how many hundreds are there, right? And we also pick up the mat which is math equipped. So I bring that mat. So some of the schools also have mats like this, which is color coded. So all the units, it will be smaller portion of green, tens, hundreds, and thousands. Now do you see the space that hundreds is occupying, the red portion is also large? Then if you see thousand, the thousand space is also larger. Now look at the unit space. Unit green is very tiny, very narrow it is. So they get that difference. Units are really small, even though they are of the same color as my thousands, but 1000 is a big number, big quantity, so they occupy a larger space. Now, since we are using beads on mats, the beads can roll when I'm giving you quantity. So that's the reason we use small bowls to put those units. For example, I have 1. So I take 1 bowl and I put 1. What is my next quantity? It is number 2. I take the second bowl, I put 2 beads. Then number 3, I take the third bowl, I put number 3. Then I take the fourth bowl, I put number 4. Simultaneously, parallelly, you check on my 110, it's only 110. 2 tens, I have 2 tens. 3 tens, I have 3 tens. Now I'm placing horizontally. In the first exercise, I taught children how the numbers were growing vertically. Now because I have to reduce my space, but the child has already got the hang of counting, I can keep it side by side rather than going one below the other. Now, did you see a transition there? Like how a teacher is moving from step by step? Did you all see a transition? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the next stage that you're going to be working. Now you go up with your hundreds, we stack up. So if it's 500s, 500s will be taken and it is all stacked up. So eventually, we are also introducing place values to children. And when it is 100, you can ask children, which place should I put? Which color should I be putting in? And the child says, ma'am, now in red color, yes, definitely yes. So your hundreds take up your red space. So that's how you can also introduce the place values. Take a look at thousands. See how large my 10,000 is. 10 such thousands have been stacked up to make up 10,000. So child is getting a visual experience over here on the decimal system, like how numbers are growing. But in between, we did not teach them 11, 12, 13, 121, 1235. We did not go inside. What did we only teach children was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1000, 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000 till 9000. You have taught only this much. Now in the next materials, we go deeper and we go into the other numbers. This is easy for a child to pick up the quantity. Okay, so we did this. Everybody is completed table of ones. Everybody is completed table of tens and hundreds and thousands. Absolutely good enough. Okay, so can you all show me that? Your work. I'm not going to go into the other material today on operations because it'll take a lot of time and we hardly have 10 to 15 minutes of time only for today. I'll not be able to complete it. Okay, so if everybody is completed, wonderful. If you have not completed, you can complete that. And tables also. The table of 10 to 1, previous exercise also, you can complete it. We still have 5 more minutes. If you have not completed, let's do it together. So we would be able to complete like 6 materials so far.
6 material.
Yes. And we're going to be meeting in the new year after today's class. Or I could say we will meet next year. Yes. Statements. So you give problem statements for the child and then the child starts working. After the chart is introduced only, you will go for the addition, random addition. How do I go for that? What is my prerequisite? After I introduce my counting and all of that, what is my next thing that I would use?
We have to make a problem.
Yes. So now I'm with my addition chart. So I'm doing a table of 1. Then is what I can make random problems like 6 plus 4 makes what? But always you have to remember the first number is blue. The second number is red. Okay. So always you have to remember that. What's 4 plus 3? 4 plus 3. And what is the other thing that you have to remember is whatever numbers that I picked, no, from the blue and the red, that space should be left like that only. Why? Because when I'm removing, I can put it back onto the same position. So we don't have to reshuffle these positions. 0 is nothing, so I don't pick anything, only 5. What's my answer? It's 5. So this is how I would perform my simple addition with children using something called as number
Addition
card.
strip.
Yeah, addition strip board. That's the material that we would use. Okay. So if you're getting doubts, that means you're really working.
My doubt is in subtraction board.
Subtraction, very simple. What is your doubt in subtraction? How do you work? For subtraction, we need one more extra. What is that extra?
Gray
Gray
strips.
color. Okay, so you would have similar your red strips. You would have your similar
Blue strip.
blue strips. Apart from that, your gray strips will be how many color? How many number?
18.
18 will be there in number. Why 18? Because my board takes it till 18. Correct?
18.
So when I'm working in that way, the boards will be totally different to me. The first choice of board will be like, I take up a board which has a line after 9. Then I use my gray strips, I use my red strips, and at the same time, I use my blue strips. So as a prerequisite, what I would do here is I would arrange all my cards in this way. Now is what? I would use one more tray and I would have number quantities from 1 to 18. Now, how do I arrange them? I would arrange them vertically. Why vertically? Because I should also tell children how quantities are growing, how numbers are growing. So this can be brown or we can have gray. Usually it will be gray in color. Now once this is done, you arrange all of them. Okay. So in sequence, you can put all of the gray strips, making sure it is growing in number on the opposite direction. Now you have done this. Now what is my first thing that I have to do? Just like how I had my addition chart to perform the table of addition, similarly, I can also have a subtraction chart to perform my subtraction. So I can start with that subtraction, right? So I can begin with that. Otherwise, I can give them a random problem statement which says 10 minus 1 is what? So here we are performing a table of 10 subtraction. So let's begin with that. So when I have 10, what is the first quantity that I have to take? I have to take whatever is in my 10 and I would cover off the remaining part. Now you understood, Shweta, why we do it in the reverse arrangements? You would have done it on the opposite side. That's the reason you wouldn't have got it. One, you would have taken one. Correct? So whatever is there near the 10, you take that, you gray off that. Now you had 10, you're taking away 1. So what's remaining? It's your 9. Now again, I have my 10 minus 2. So that's my 10 minus 2. So it's my 8. Now I have 10. Now I have to take away 3. So that's my 7. So you continue that. You put back the pieces. Now you give a random number. Now what should you do, Shweta? What is the number that you have to take? 14 minus 9.
I have to take a brown strip from above the number 14. We have to
Yes. And
15.
cover off the other.
Yes.
So I will take that 14 strip, whatever is there. I would cover off the numbers. So now I got complete 14 number. Now I have to subtract 9. So I take red or blue. You take your blue strip. 9. Now you do 14 minus 9. How much is remaining? 5. So 5 becomes your answer. Now you put back everything into its position. So we understand. Now 11 minus 7. Take a strip which is in the 11th position, cover off. So we have to do only till 11. So that means my maximum number was only 11. I don't need numbers from 12, 13, 14, 15. To avoid confusion, we are covering that off. So I took only till 11. Then I would take my 7 from my blue. Remaining is my 4. Clear, Shweta? Shweta?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, why we put a dark line after 9 only? Because in addition, we put that line in after 10. Is there any reason?
Yeah, 9 minus 9. When I do that, I have to get 0, right?
That's why we are putting after
Yes,
9. 9
after
is
that.
the ultimate number. Behind that, we are
Yes.
not going.
Yes. 18. Say, for example, 18 minus 9. Maximum I can get is 9.
9 only.
Yes. So the maximum subtrahend that I can subtract from it is also 18 only. So 18 minus 9, I have to get an equivalent number, so 9. So that's the reason I put this. For 10, why? Because we are working on what makes a 10. 9 plus 1. So we are working on the quantities there. What all can give me up to 10s. Because to differentiate, we work on the lining concepts for the children. Okay?
Before that, you told in addition stripe board, we are only arranging blue strips to our left side. Here we arrange it in a different manner, like red strip we arranged in our left side.
See, no, Baba. It will always be, yes, correct. Yes, yes. Addition and subtraction. Yes, correct. You're correct. The arrangement would be separate, correct? Because
Like
the
this one we have arranged.
answer will be red in subtraction. So that's the reason I'm putting it towards my left side. Yes, you're right.
This is the doubt I am having.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Because
so
we always pick up the first strip here blue. In addition, we pick up the first strip as red, right? Okay.
Wait. Okay, ma'am. Got it. Got it.
Okay, dear. Yeah. So that's your addition and subtraction. So others, whenever you get a chance, please go through it. Internally, you can start discussing any minor doubts that you have it also, just text us. So I should be able to reply or give you a voice note. Okay. All right. Okay then. So we have almost completed for today's class. Just to give you a quick summary of whatever that we did for today. We worked with different materials in our classes. We have covered so far number rods, spindle, sandpaper numbers, number rods and cards. We worked on spindle boxes to introduce the concept of zero. We worked on cards and counters to introduce whether the number was even or odd. And at last, we worked on golden beads. The first material what we used was only to introduce the decimal system. And we made the tables of ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. The second material, we could add on more smaller trays, and we can bring more hundreds, more tens, so that you would be able to work on giving the children an opportunity to learn about more quantity. So these were the materials that we actually covered for today. So after the Christmas and New Year, we are going to meet in the next year. So we're going to start with our operations in math. We're going to be using the same material to perform static addition, static subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay. And yes, and that's for today's exercise. Okay. Thank you very much. And students who have got your exam can stay back for 5 more minutes. I'm going to explain you the timetable, when and what we have. Others, you can have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much, and see you all in the next year. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, guys.
Happy
See
New Year
you.
and
Bye-bye.
Happy
Happy
Christmas,
New
ma'am.
Year.
Thank you,
Happy
ma'am.
New Year, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you, ma'am. Wish you
Putting
the
you into
same.
gallery mode. Happy New Year, all of you, and Merry Christmas to all of you. Enjoy and stay blessed. Take care. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
See you.
Bye.